Check the leaderboards and Oni-chan is the highest rated Doom OTP, but in America, Kartifan's also number 1, so who's better? Doom's already the worst tank in high level play, so how can these guys do so much, and who do I think is better? Let's find out. Now, if you're a fellow Doom player, you probably hate playing against Sombra. She either hacks you on the front line and forces you out, or hacks you when you're already in, killing you. But let me tell you the secret. Cover, distance, and an escape path are all you need to outplay a Sombra. At the beginning of this game, which was Oni-chan's Champion 4 game, we start off well by getting the most free environmental kill. But afterwards, we see Oni-chan continue to punch in to dive the Kiriko. Notice how a second before that though, the Sombra translocates out. This means Oni-chan has a ton of distance away from her, so even when the Sombra tries to punish him, he can escape around the cover, saving his ass. That's not the only time though. Here, Oni-chan just about escapes from the Sombra hack. If we see how, he's got enough distance away from her and the front line, giving him time to react. He's also got cover by the corner and a clear escape path back to his team. We can take this idea a step further though. Oni-chan slams the cart and uses the bot as cover to minimize damage taken. Now, while he does get Meteor Strike forced, pay attention to how he uses the LOS of his backline. If the Sombra Winston want to push forward and punish the Doomfist, they'd be walking right in front of the Freya Kiriko. In my Venture video, I called this risk baiting, and it's the exact same thing here. Super important to do against hard counters. Arguably though, Kartifan does it better. In this example, if the Sombra wants to hack the Doomfist, she is putting herself at direct risk of getting one-shots, which is exactly what happens. She gets the hack off onto Kartifan, but a simple punch-shoot melee combo sends her back to the spawn room. Honestly, I can't tell who's more fatherless, Sombra players or Karti's son. After the Sombra kill, Kartifan catches the nano boost and deletes half the enemy team. It's unfortunate that he undoes all the hard work soon after, as he feeds 1v5 like the average Doom player. But he continues to rub salt on the wound, one-shotting the Sombra out of invis alongside catching her early in the fight, having just used Translocator. Honestly, I hope you guys can stop banning Sombra because clearly she's not unbeatable. And actually, in a lot of situations, you'll rarely be diving backline as Doomfist anyways. On New Queen Street, it's vital to keep the Freya alive against the Sombra Tracer. Over a prolonged fight, she'll get more value than a Tracer Sombra, so Doom's role is to actually prevent Freya from being dove in the first place. One way to do this is to take enclosed duels against characters like Sombra or Tracer. We see here, Oni-chan punches over to the Tracer, not to do some crazy tech, but to steal the Mega and hit some shots onto the Tracer, forcing her to leave. Straight after, we see Oni-chan forcing the Sombra to leave because Doom can threaten the one-shots, similar to what we just saw with Kartifan. Speaking of Kartifan, despite his hyper-mobile frontline of Sombra Tracer Doomfist, he was spending a lot of time forcing out and punishing the Winston, either catching the kill outright or forcing him to primal. Again, this hyper-aggressive frontline is used to prevent his honor from being dove in the first place. Quick streaming plug before I continue. If you want to see me hate watch OWCS this weekend, check out my Twitch below. Now, there are times where Kartifan will reach for backline, like this crazy empowered punch kill straight onto the Lucio, or the nano boost fight that we saw earlier. There's certain triggers you will need to be able to pull this off. A cooldown advantage, basically meaning to get empowered punch, an ultimate advantage, so having nano boost or meteor strike, or having a positional advantage, so their Winston or Tracer are cleared. Now, if you don't have these triggers, you'll be fighting to get them through soft engages. In this fight, Kartifan punches above the boss, power blocking 4 people to get that punch. The Sombra tries to hack him, but again, because he's got a ton of distance, he easily slams out. This is a textbook soft engage, skirmishing for triggers and not committing to get kills. Even with the punch, it's still not enough to hard engage, so Kartifan punches the Winston out of his bubble. Now, because the Winston isn't a threat, coupled with that Kitsune, these are the triggers that allow him to reach for backline. To add the cherry on top, he also teams up with the Sombra to catch Nomad, who's actually Vega from Team Liquid, and he also catches the Kiriko too. A very interesting difference between the two Dooms is that Oni-chan prefers the shotgun perk, which reloads all your ammo when you punch someone. Comparatively, Kartifan prefers the passive perk, which gives you overhealth on elimination and increases the cap too. Honestly, I think Kartifan has the right choice. If you already hit your shots, you don't necessarily need the extra ammo most of the time. It's situationally good if you're not getting many elims though. On the flip side, the overhealth perk mitigates Doom's biggest weakness, his sustain. At least both Dooms pick the Power Matrix perk, which is far better. As Get Quigged On talked about, you're just never slamming 3 enemies in high elo, and even if you are, it conflicts with your slam in, punch out combo. I will give Oni-chan extra points for talking about some Doom tech with me, like the stair slam.
So it's like when you have a slope or staircase, you like get this weird effect where you get stuck on the ground and you can move your hero like however you want.
Which is most useful for holding chokes or corners or aggressively surprising someone. In a game against Zera, you can see Kartifan do exactly that to safely pressure the Cass and Kiri soon after catching the Cass in high noon. He also does a super aggro stair slam onto the Moira too. There's also bounce punches, which I'm sure most of you know, just cancel your punch into a slope. Don't sleep on downward diags too, just punch into a downward slope. Pretty useful on Blizzard World 3rds.
Like here you can diag all the way down.
And lastly, there's the spining tech, where you place yourself in the spine of a rooftop to surprise people from weird angles. Now, let's not overlook Power Block. It's really important to understand that even if you don't charge Empowered Punch with your block, it doesn't always mean it's a bad block. Conversely, even if you do charge Punch, that doesn't mean the block's always good. So what makes a good power block? Well, if you watch my #1 Genji video, you'll already be familiar with the concept of visual aggro. In other words, what heroes are actually looking at you and how much aggression you are taking. The first power block by Kartifan, while it does charge as punch, I don't think is actually that good of a block. Pharah is the only person actually looking and aggressing onto the Doomfist, which as you can see, isn't enough to get block. It's the Sojourn who charges his block for some reason. Conversely, this power block by Kartifan is pretty good. There's 3 people directly staring at him, so even though he doesn't charge his punch, it buys him time to make an escape. I really wanted to cover this because it's a massive oversimplification that if you don't charge your punch with block, it's a bad block. No, bad blocks are ones where you're taking little to no visual aggro. Like here, we're blocking their voices. Kiriko isn't looking at us, and Hazard is too far away. So far, we've talked a lot about playing Doomfist into dive comps, but what about heroes like Ana, Zen and Orisa? Well, against Orisa, you basically want to avoid her at all costs and control the space around her. You can see here, Kartifan just slams way past the Orisa, catching and controlling the Sombra like we talked about before. There just isn't much an Orisa can really do, except hit a really good javelin. Going back to Oni-chan, because he's playing with a Tracer, this gives his comp insanely high burst mobility and insanely high burst damage. This means that he can control and punish the Ashe pretty much any time she's slightly isolated. The Power Matrix perk also becomes very useful here. As soon as Oni-chan lands from Meteor Strike, he eats the Ana Sleep Darts before quickly disposing both the Zen and the Ana. Things get even juicier this fight though. Firstly, the Ashe gets disposed of very quickly, just like before, then he power blocks the visual aggro from the Zen, getting a punch. Now, with 3 triggers, being a big positional advantage, plus a man up, plus empowered punch, it's time to hard engage. Oni-chan punches and kills the Junkrat, and while the Orisa hits a nice javelin, it's too little too late. He also gets another great block onto the Zen, resetting his punch cooldown and destroying the Ana. Before I give you my verdict on which Doom I think is better, and don't worry, I'm not gonna fence it like Spylo, you might be wondering why we never see Doomfist in pro play. It's so bad that I even made a tweet about it. The last time we properly saw any Doomfist was from China in the 2023 World Cup, and we all know how that went. Doom's biggest bottleneck is that other heroes can do his job, but better. The nail in the coffin for Doom was Hazard's release. He's still got a one-shot combo, but he's got way more sustain and way less hard counters. Back on Samoa, you could see just how much Zera was marking and chasing Kartifan because the biggest counter to Doomfist is preventing him from even going in to begin with. And to be honest, let's not even begin with Malga.
Wow, well played, Malga! Oh my fucking god, you're just so much better than all of us. That's how you're winning.
Now, who do I think is better? Well, drumroll please, it's actually both of them. I swear I'm not trying to do a Spylo, but I think both Dooms are better than each other in certain aspects. Cartifan is the embodiment of the hype moments and aura meme. Very flashy and clean mechanically, but way more greedy with a tendency to feed. Conversely, Oni-chan's power blocks were generally a bit better, but in some fights, his engages won't be as clean. Regardless, check both of these guys out on Twitch, and if you enjoyed, check out this video on screen. Until next time.